Happy Monday, Saints fans. Hope you guys had a wonderful Easter weekend. In today's video, I saw some interesting rumors around the New Orleans Saints. I was scouring the interwebs and I saw Bleacher Report put out two articles, one about some trade rumors, one about some free agency buzz, and they mentioned the Saints in both of those. And we're going to dive into both of those articles and all of the moves around the New Orleans Saints here in just one moment. But if you are an LSU baseball fan, I apologize, not really. Sorry, not sorry that my Razorbacks kicked your teeth in for the LSU Tigers. Series sweep, 18 straight games at home at Baum-Walker Stadium. You can go ahead and type TRIZZY. I am an Arkansas alum. I am a Saints fan. But hey, got to have a little fun. And it's the internet. Just have a little fun and don't take it so seriously. So the Bleacher Report rumors that I'm going to be discussing on today's video. Marshon Lattimore, could he be headed to the Baltimore Ravens in a trade? Tanoh Kpassagnon, another trade rumor, but that sends him up to Buffalo to pair up at the Bills. And Justin Simmons, could he be headed to New Orleans? Bleacher Report thinks that could happen. And first off, I want to make one thing very, very, very clear here. I am not trading Marshon Lattimore. There is no world, no situation that I would trade Marshon Lattimore. It truly does feel like the best situation for both sides, not just the Saints, but the player as well. It's a reunion. It's keeping everything together, figuring out whatever's going on in the locker room and behind the scenes and just making it work. Because I think that Marshon Lattimore is a really good player, and I don't think you're going to get the trade compensation that you want or that you would desire, like a third or a fourth round pick. But let's kick it to Bleacher Report and what they specifically had to say and the fit for Baltimore. They said that the Ravens gave up the fewest points last season, but the unit will undergo changes and needs a couple of playmakers to maintain a stingy pass defense. Teams rarely trade high-end pass rushers, so the Ravens could focus on bolstering their secondary by acquiring a starting boundary cornerback. The Saints may be willing to part ways with the four-time Pro Bowler as they continue to develop Paulson Adebo and Alontae Taylor. Lattimore, who's 27 years old, has missed 17 games over the previous 2 years because of injuries, which makes this a risky deal for Baltimore. Now, if Lattimore can stay healthy, Baltimore would be getting an upgraded secondary to compensate for a questionable pass rush. Now, in terms of the trade compensation, Bleacher Report did say that the trade comp should be similar to what the Carlton Davis trade around the Bucks and the Detroit Lions was, and we'll show you what those trade details are here in a second. And I just don't think that I'm interested in the third round pick. Let me make that clear. But give up multiple comp picks, maybe. I'm not interested. The third round pick is appealing, but I don't want to give up extra trade capital. I know that you have comp picks to spare, and that's totally fine. You could move on from some of those and make this go down, but it just doesn't make sense to me. If I'm in the Saints front office, I'm not doing that. And to be honest, I'm a little tired of hearing about the Marshon Lattimore trade rumors. I think he's sticking around in New Orleans, but at the end of the day, he's a high-profile player that is on a team that could look to clear some cap space or try and reset a little bit or whatever. There's all the arguments you can make. So if you're tired of the Marshon Lattimore rumors as well, just give me a me in the comment section. I'm going to be replying to every single one of y'all who types me. Now, in terms of why Tanoh Kpassagnon in that trade, it's the beginning of the end for Von Miller. And so the Buffalo Bills could look to add a veteran edge rusher, and that's why they suggested Tanoh Kpassagnon. And here's what they had to say. New Orleans signed Chase Young in free agency, and though he's recovering from neck surgery, GM Mickey Loomis seems excited about the 24-year-old. As a rotational defender, Tanoh Kpassagnon, at 29 years old, has recorded 9.5 sacks and 10 tackles for loss over the previous 3 seasons. He can fill in the same role in Buffalo behind Greg Rousseau, Miller, and Epinesa on the edge. Now, I do think that this is actually an appealing idea. You do have a lot of players in the defensive line group that you could potentially maybe move on from. I think that a Tanoh Kpassagnon, a Peyton Turner, those two guys specifically are names to keep an eye on in terms of trade guys or whatever, but I do value having a guy like Tanoh Kpassagnon in the rotation. I mean, in 2023, he was number 4 in sack production for New Orleans with 3.5 sacks, and that was in a limited rotational role where we didn't get to see him take a ton of snaps and be a starting defensive end and whatnot. And I don't know if Tanoh Kpassagnon is a defensive end, but that's where I kind of agree with Bleacher Report when they're saying they could use him as a rotational piece, and I think that does make some sense there. And for the trade compensation for Kpassagnon, Bleacher Report said that it would be late round compensation, like, probably at best a 5th round pick, 6th or 7th round. To be honest, I actually don't hate the trade idea of sending one of our back end defensive linemen, an edge rusher, away. I would rather it be Peyton Turner in this kind of situation because Tanoh Kpassagnon was productive for New Orleans, but I don't hate it. Like, I truly don't hate the idea of moving on from a Peyton Turner, from a Tanoh Kpassagnon, because I do believe in Carl Granderson. I think that Isaiah Foskey showed some promise when he was on the field. And on top of that, Cameron Jordan, he's a great football player, but I love adding Chase Young into the mix. So that way you have a nice, solid group of defensive ends. And on top of that, if you do move one of these guys, you can still go and draft an edge rusher in 2024 and bring in some more young and fresh talent. But guys, lock us in real quick. I want to encourage you to subscribe for more Saints offseason coverage. I don't wear Arkansas Razorbacks gear every single show, but I do sometimes just because, I'm an alum and I like to have some fun. But if you're a diehard Saints fan, join the over 26,000 members of our squad here at Saints Now by Chat Sports by locking us in and subscribing today. All right, coming up next, I want to discuss Justin Simmons to New Orleans. Could he be a Saint? Bleacher Report thinks that is actually a pretty real possibility. And before we dive into that, got to give a big time shout out to Game Time for sponsoring today's video. Game Time is my favorite ticketing app, and at the end of the day, it makes buying tickets to my favorite live events so dang easy. It's fast, and it's the easy way to buy tickets for sports, music, comedy, theater events, whatever. If it's a live event, they got tickets for it. So if you download the Game Time app and use code CHATSPORTS, you can get $20 off your first purchase. I've gotten to go see the Red Clay Strays. I've gone to some Stars games, some Mavs games, and all that fun stuff. But they even have tickets for LSU football available. You can go check out some of the other sports going around the Bayou, whether it's Tulane, Louisiana Tech, LSU. They got tickets for all of that, and you can get them now before they get too expensive closer to the regular season. So go ahead and use our code CHATSPORTS, that's CHATSPORTS, for $20 off. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem code CHATSPORTS for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today. Last minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. All that information is in the comment section and description of this video. All right, let's talk about Justin Simmons to the New Orleans Saints, because Bleacher Report actually suggested the Saints as a destination and as a landing spot for the arguably best free safety available right now. Let's talk about Bleacher Report's article in Justin Simmons. They said that the 30-year-old was a second-team All-Pro for the 3rd season in a row, picking up his 2nd Pro Bowl nomination. In the process, he had 70 combined tackles with 3 interceptions and had 8 passes defended. Despite the slow market, Simmons should still wind up with the home that is going to make him a starter. He is more than a capable starter, and there are teams where he would be an upgrade. The New Orleans Saints could pair him up with Tyrann Mathieu for a veteran safety duo that's still capable of making plays. Yes! Thank you so much. Thank you. Finally, somebody's listening to what I've been trying to say and what a lot of people have been trying to say. This would be an excellent duo for your starting safeties. And on top of that, you throw Jordan Howden to the mix. And on top of that, you throw in Jonathan Abram. And on top of that, JT Gray. And on top of that, Ugo Amadi. Like, you have so much talent in that room that can just be absolutely maximized if you bring in a player like Justin Simmons. Now, the Saints weren't the only team that Bleacher Report mentioned. I do want to give them their flowers and let you guys know who else was mentioned. The New York Giants, after losing Xavier McKinney, and the Los Angeles Rams are another team to keep an eye out in terms of what Bleacher Report thinks. But I think that this could be a good move for so many reasons, but here are the 3 that I'm rolling with today. So he could be another quality veteran to mentor Jordan Howden. And I really, really like the player in the Minnesota Golden Gophers late round pick from the Saints last year. He was very talented. He was very versatile, just like Justin Simmons. You can use him in the box. You can use him at the defensive line. You can use him in the slot. You can drop him back in free safety. And I do know that the Saints like using Jordan Howden in that free safety role, but he can be utilized all over the field just like Justin Simmons. And at the end of the day, I've been saying this for a while, the Saints need a guy to play in the box / play at that slot role. And on top of that, just be a starting strong safety. And if you have this safety group, this is my dream right here. If you have these three guys on your field, at any given time, you can rotate any of these three guys to the box. You can rotate any of these three guys as the free safety. You can rotate any of these guys at any spot in the defense, and they will be effective and they will make an impact. I love what Tyrann Mathieu's been able to do since joining the Saints. He's been really freaking good. Jordan Howden, so much promise there for the second-year player, and Justin Simmons would just absolutely be the cherry on top to this defense and make this one of the scariest defensive groups in the NFL, in my personal opinion. Now, sound off for me, Saints fans. How badly do you want Justin Simmons? You scale it for me, 1 to 100. 1 meaning not interested at all. Stop talking about it. I hate the idea. 100 meaning I will go ahead and write a check to the New Orleans Saints to help start paying for that salary. For me, I'm at a 100. I'm not kidding you right now. I'm going to go look up the Saints Venmo account and try and just Venmo be like, for Justin Simmons, for Justin Simmons, for Justin Simmons. Not really, but you know my point. I would love to have this addition in New Orleans. And this would be an absolute cherry on top, like I just said, to a really sneakily good offseason so far. All you have left to do after that, crush the frickin' draft. And you've adjusted and made a lot of moves on the defensive side of the ball, so your draft can be offensive focused. Go get some linemen. Go get some pass catchers. Add some more talent at edge rusher later in the rounds and do some of that. But these are the key offseason moves that I think that have not gone under the radar, but are really, really good, and a lot of people aren't talking about it outside of Saints media. Hiring Clint Kubiak as the offensive coordinator is a massive upgrade over having Pete Carmichael. It is a complete 180. This offense will be so much better, purely based on the play calling. And on top of that, bringing in Willie Gay on an incredibly team-friendly deal and Chase Young on a really nice contract that's very heavily incentive-based, I think those were really, really good moves as well to boost that defense. And on top of that, you rework Tyrann Mathieu and Demario Davis's contracts to free up some money this year, and on top of that, keep them around for another couple of seasons. I really think that the Saints have had a sneaky and quietly good offseason so far, and so that's why I think that we should be giving them their flowers, and bringing in Justin Simmons would just be the cherry on top. Now, if you enjoyed today's video and if you made it to the end of the video, we're clearly doing something right. So go ahead and hit that sub button and lock us in. That way you can be notified anytime we have videos coming at you. Going to give you a hint. For those of you stuck around for the end of the video, I got a quarterback trade rumor I'm going to be discussing in tomorrow's video. It's going to get juicy, so I encourage you to tune in tomorrow.